This morning with the candidates in the 10th congressional district race in the northern suburbs. Republican Bob Dold's from Kenilworth. He currently owns and operates a small business, and he tells ABC7 that he's running because he believes that we need committed leaders and problem solvers in Washington. Let me tackle immigration first.
Sure.
And as you know, things have been, they aren't going anywhere in the House at this moment. What would you do if you're elected?
I am for immigration reform. I think it's very, very important that we deal with immigration reform. And the fact that Washington has not acted, I think, is unacceptable. I think we've got to figure out a way for the 12.5 million people that are living in the shadows to be able to come out of the shadows, be contributing members of our community, help grow the fabric of the community, and be able to be paying taxes and the like. I think that we have to fix our borders. I mean, we're in the midst of a war on terror, so we need to know who's coming into our country. But we have to fix the legal process as well. And so right now, the fact that you have to wait, 10 and 12 years to be able to come into our country, that just needs to be fixed. And we have to fix the H-1B visa. We educate the best and the brightest from all over the globe. They come to our nation and they graduate with a master's degree or a PhD. And as soon as they do, what do? We kick them out to go compete against us, when what we should be saying is, please stay here, help create the next new patent here, help innovate here, help grow American jobs right here at home.
For those who are here already, and maybe they entered the country illegally, or maybe they're kids of those who entered the country illegally, should there be a path to citizenship in that process or not?
I think that certainly there needs to be an opportunity for them to do that, and a path to citizenship that may require them to go to the back of the line. But I do think that what we have to be doing is things like the DREAM Act. Again, I think there's broad consensus that we should be passing those things. And we have to figure out a way for the 12.5 million people to be able to come out of the shadows and not fear being separated from their families, and actually contributing to the community so that they do have that opportunity to experience the American dream.
You mentioned the concerns over terrorism. Of course, ISIS is at the forefront here. We saw in the past week the use apparently of chlorine gas over in Iraq. What do? Do we put boots on the ground or not?
Well, I think what we have to do is take a step back and say, why did we get here, or how did we get here? And I think that one of the things that we can look at, this is leadership. And the world is asking a very simple question: where is America? And it's not just with ISIS over in Iraq and Syria. We can look at China and their expanding no-fly zone. We can look at what's happening in North Korea, firing missiles at South Korean military exercises. Obviously, what's going on in the Ukraine and Crimea. And then we've got the genocide in Syria, the rise of ISIS, what's happening in Gaza with Hamas, Libya, and then Iran. But the thing that's interesting is, with so many of these things going on, have we taken our eye off the ball of what's happening in Iran, which I view as one of the greatest threats we have to our national security today? With regard to ISIS, I think one of the differences between my opponent and myself is my opponent wants to, in essence, say, we're not going to put boots on the ground. I want to take a look at what Secretary Hagel has had to say. And again, I have not had any briefings, but Secretary Hagel, if we take him at his word, saying this is an imminent threat to the United States national security. Former Secretary Panetta, former Secretary Clinton, General Dempsey, all have come out to say that we've encouraged the administration to take action on things regarding ISIS long ago, and that only not to have happened. So I do think that what we have to do is we have to step up. We have to root out ISIS. We have to get a coalition of bodies to help us in this process. But one of the things that I won't do is I won't say what we're not going to do. I think all options have to be on the table. If indeed this is a threat to our own national security, these are brutal terrorists that are beheading children. And so I think that this is not something that wants to stop in the Middle East, and I think that they want to expand greatly.
All right, let's move back domestically now and talk about the U.S. tax code. There's been a lot of attention to this, of course, with some folks saying we need to do something here. It doesn't work, or it doesn't work fairly.
Absolutely.
What should be done with it?
I think if we look at our tax code, and I'm just listening to people out there, our tax code's broken. It's far too complicated. We need a tax code that works for everybody, not just the well-connected. And frankly, we need to make sure that it's about global competitiveness. We're driving companies to go overseas when what we should be doing is creating a tax code that is more globally competitive, that's attracting businesses here, that is enabling businesses to be able to grow and thrive and create more American jobs. So it's got to be simplified. I think we do have to lower our corporate tax rate and end some of the lobbyist loopholes out there that provide special treatment to some, so that we, again, a level playing field and allow our businesses to compete and win. And also, I think we're going to attract more jobs from overseas.
On the minimum wage issue, I believe you've said you're in support of raising it. Have you said where you'd like to see it rest, at least initially?
I think what's interesting here is, again, my opponent wants to, he just picked out, he said he wants 10-10, and I think that's largely because that's what the president has said. I don't think there's really any thought behind that. I believe that what we have to do is we have to have a consensus number and get it done. I think there's many that want to use this as a political football as opposed to actually trying to solve a problem. The cost of food, the cost to fill up your car with gas. You know, all of those things have gone up since the minimum wage was last raised in 2009.
As a small business owner, what do you tell other small business owners regarding this?
What I tell other small business owners and what I hear from other small business owners is we understand that minimum wage has to be raised. We want to make sure that we're not impacting jobs, because really what we want to do is we want more jobs, not less.
All right, seconds left here, but biggest transportation issue you'd like to see addressed?
Listen, we've got here in the Chicago area, extremely important in terms of our transportation infrastructure. I've stood up to make sure that we need to be investing in it. It's a show of our economy. Metro is a big thing because, again, it's an environmental issue as well. Without Metro, we're going to see an additional 50% congestion on our roadways. This is a very important issue for our roads, our bridges, our waterways. We need to make sure we're protecting it. I've done it. We'll continue to do it going forward.
Right. Republican Bob Dold, great to have you here. Thanks so much for sharing your views on this. 10th Congressional District race. It's a big one on the North Shore. That's going to do it here for News Views this morning.